I'm just going to flip over now to Illustrator. Here I am in Illustrator, and I've already set up a basis for today to run through to give me a starting point. But what you would do is once you open up Illustrator, you would go File, New, and you would want to create, for like the example I'm about to show, 4 different artboards, which is essentially 4 different pages. So you would change that to 4 there. I would set it up as A4 size, and make sure it says A4 where it says size there, and make sure you click on this on the left hand side here, this little person, which is the orientation of portrait. And we won't worry about the other things today because we don't need them. And then you click OK, and you end up with 4 different artboards that you can work with for this submission. They're essentially pages. I'll just close that now because I've already done that here. So let's zoom in and have a look. On the first page, you could use the first page like this. You could actually type the subject, typography, assessment 1 monogram, your full name, and your student number. On the second page, I would leave that to show your scans or photographs of your sketches that you do. So take a photograph or scan in your sketches so that you can include them in this presentation. And I've just made a note here to do so. You go up here and you go File, Place. You find your scan or photograph that you've taken, and then you place it and you put it there on that page. You don't need to have that text there. After you've shown your scans, it's a good idea to play around with a few different typefaces. Here we go. These have not been turned into monograms yet. They're just set up ready to go. You can see here I've used Rockwell, Trajan, and Dot. So I'm just going to focus on Dot for the moment. And to create that, I click on my type tool, simply click once I've got the type tool, and then type in the R and the L, and I'll just resize that up, get rid of that one for the moment. So there's my R and the L. If I wanted to change that to a different typeface, you simply select it, and up the top here you can see it's got the word character. So if I click on the word character, I can see that's the name of the typeface. This is the weight, this is the size, and a few other things in there as well, which we'll look at another day. So if I wanted to change this to a different typeface, for example, I could do so right there, but I don't want to, so I'm going to change it back to Dot. Okay, so there's not a lot that I can do to transform this typeface at the moment. It's pretty limited because it is a typeface. If I want to be able to really manipulate it, I have to do what's called creating outlines. So what that means is it changes it from being a typeface to a shape. So to do that, I go up here to the menu and go Type, Create Outlines, and now you can see you get all these little points around the outside, which means I can manipulate it. If I go over here, I can really go to town and manipulate that typeface if I wish, because it is no longer a typeface, it is now a shape. So it automatically groups those 2 letters, so I want to actually ungroup them so I can do some changes to the capital R. So if I go to Object and choose Ungroup, you can see now I can just select just the R. Now I encourage you to play around with Illustrator, play around with these letters. I'm just going to show you a very basic example today, similar to what we saw earlier. If I go up to Object and Transform, I've got the shape selected. I can move, rotate, reflect. I'm just going to reflect this capital R, and you might have preview turned off. You can reflect it horizontally. I'll turn there you go. I've got preview turned on, or I can reflect it vertically. So if preview is turned on, you will actually see what's about to happen live. And then I'll click OK. I'm just going to move this over so that they share the same stem. And they're still actually classed as two different shapes at the moment, the R and the L. So I'm going to quickly show you, using this really great option called Pathfinder, how I can turn this into one shape. I'll just go Command Y, and you'll see it's a bit, Command Y gives you an outline view, which is a bit like an X-ray view, and you can actually see that these are still two different shapes. I'll go Command Y again to take me back. Alright, so I'm going to fuse these two letters together so that they form one shape. So I select both by dragging over the top with my arrow, which is my selection tool. And I'm just going to click on this button here with both those letters selected. I'm going to click on this button, which will unite them. I'm going to click on it right now. And you can see, if I go Command Y, that they are now just the one shape. Command Y again. So I've created one single shape, one single monogram. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cut a little section out here so I can have two sections to color for when I go to color this monogram. To do that, I'm just going to select the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a small slither just like so. Okay, and then I'm going to select both my newly drawn rectangle and my monogram, and this time in my Pathfinder tool I'm going to choose minus front. So that minus front will cut out this rectangle. There we go. So it looks a little bit more stencil like. If you don't see your Pathfinder here, just go to Window and you can find your Pathfinder under the Window option. Alright, so I'll zoom out again. So after you've created your monogram versions and you find one that you're happy with, you can select it and go Command C if you're on a Mac for copy, Command V for paste if you're on a Mac, and then go over to the last page and we'll have a look over here. So I've just set these little squares up to show you some examples of color schemes. So I've got monochromatic, complementary, and analogous down there. So if I go and zoom in on this shape, on our monogram, you can see here that I can actually start to color it. But what I want to do is firstly show you how you can easily set up these color schemes. So I'll copy over this blue chip so we can get started. So if you create a shape and color it and go to your color guide, which is also under Window Color Guide, you can see some, this is the easiest way I think to be able to create your color schemes. So if I click on this little arrow over here where it says Harmony Rules, you can actually see that analogous is one of the options. You also have monochromatic, and you will also have complementary as well. Complementary here is up the top. So I'm just going to click on complementary, and up here very easily I now have an orange color which is a complementary color of my blue. So I'll copy that over and I'll click on the orange, and right away I have complementary colors. I'll just copy the blue down now and select it again, and we'll now go and choose monochromatic. So monochromatic are tints and shades of the one color, like so. There's my monochromatic color scheme. Copy the blue down. So there's only one more we need to do. and that's analogous. Copy that over. So side by side on the color wheel. So very easy, complementary, monochromatic, and analogous. So they're our color schemes that we could use. Doesn't matter what color you start with. If I started with green, I'd get different color combinations. So color guide is very useful in that way. So I'll just delete those, and here's some that I set up earlier. So let's go and color our monogram over here. So to color it, the first thing that I need to do is, at the moment, these shapes are grouped. So if I go Object, Ungroup, I can select those shapes separately. So we're going to color this RL monogram using a monochromatic color scheme. Simply select one shape, the shape you want to color first. Grab this tool down here, which is your eyedropper tool, and then click on the color you want it to change to. It's as easy as that. Then you want to click on the L, select your eyedropper tool, and click on the next color. Now that I've colorized my monogram, I'm going to get rid of those chips, move it down, and you need to clearly identify your color scheme. So please write the color scheme underneath each of your monogram examples. So this one is monochromatic, and there we go. So you do the rest. I'll quickly do the other two. Select, colorize, select, colorize. Just move that one to one side. And there you have it. So there is your monochromatic, complementary, analogous monogram in the three color schemes as required. You would need to go and combine these letters in some way, experiment with them as well. Of course, your scans will be up here, and you've got a cover page. So once you've finished all those parts, you then save your example, save your submission as a PDF. So to do that, you go to File, Save As, and make sure where it says Format down here, make sure that you choose PDF. So PDF option. And then you would actually name your assessment. I would put your initials in the assessment and also call it Assessment 1. Save it, and then you submit it the way that I showed you earlier. To make this a little bit easier for you, I've also, or to assist you, we also have this additional resource called a brief analysis, which breaks down the assessment 1 into smaller components. There's also some very useful links in this PDF, so I encourage you to download it from, I'll show you where I've saved this. If you go into the discussion board, assessment forum, assessment 1, and I encourage you to use the assessment forum to ask any questions about the assessments. You can see here that I actually have a link here to the assessment 1 brief analysis, which is going to make your job so much easier to complete this task. It gives you some helpful tips regarding your presentation and also fantastic resources. So I hope that you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing your monogram submissions at the end of week 2. Thanks, guys.